Hi, this is Trent from Speak2Read. Wanted to connect with you, continue to educate parents and families about children learning to read. One of the points I wanted to make tonight was that beginning readers and young readers need different things than older readers that are struggling. And I often see that a parallel gets made. So if a kid's in grade 3 and he's struggling to read, sometimes kids, educators, parents, whoever's providing the intervention wants to go back and give that child something that they would do in kindergarten or grade 1. And sometimes we do have to go back and reteach some concepts, but we want to be really conscious of the way that we're teaching, because that was the problem in the first place. If they're in grade 3 and they haven't learned to read, there was a problem with the instruction. And the instruction didn't match the way that child learns. It wasn't that there was bad teaching, it was just that that particular instruction didn't match that particular student's individual learning style. So, let's get right on the court with this. Let's have a real world example. I had a parent call me who wanted me to work with their child who's in grade 3, a boy who was having trouble reading. And she had been working with somebody else. They were providing this intervention, this reading program that uses cartoon letters. The letters are animated as cartoons. And so she called me and she said, this person's no longer available to work with my child. Can you provide this for my child? And I said, yes, I can provide that program. And no, I will not provide that program for a child in grade 3. And it sounds a little rude, perhaps, but I was adamant that that was not the right thing that was going to make a difference for this boy. And so the program that uses the cartoon letters and it pairs the sounds to the letters, that's going to be good for somebody who is learning to read, especially a typical brain. That's a way to get them engaged and get them exposed to a lot of letters, letter sounds, get them working with all of that. But what we want to be conscious of is that for kids to learn to read, they need to activate the visual processing area of the brain, which comes from looking at letters and words, the sound processing area of the brain, which is the sounds that each letter will pair with, and all of the sounds that we're going to pull out of the word if we're reading or blend together if we're writing or spelling, and as well as the meaning area or the language area of the brain. So there's these 3 distinct separate areas of the brain. We need them all to activate accurately and process information accurately and quickly for a child to read. But then we also need neural connections between each of those brain areas to the other brain areas. Without that neural connection, we're not going to get a brain that's going to process information. So that ultimately what we want kids to do is encounter a word on a page, be able to look at it, visual processing, unpack the sounds that come out of it, sound processing, and then recognize the meaning. So look at a word and pull the meaning out very quickly. And then that is lather, rinse, repeat. Next word, next word, next word. See the word, pull the meaning out. See the word, pull the meaning out. Link all of the meanings of those words together to comprehend the sentence. That's what we need kids to be able to do. When we look at some of these interventions, especially this one looking with cartoon letters, you're already distorting the visual processing. So a child who's in grade 3 likely doesn't have very robust storage of words. And if you're going to take the representation of the word and the representation of the letters and make them a little bit animated or cartoon like that, you're distorting some of the accurate visual processing that that child is going to have. As well, if you're working in an intervention like that where you're just using a lot of flashcards to show a lot of letters and having children label the sounds that go with them, you're not activating any of the meaning. You're not getting the language part of the brain activated. So again, you're undermining what would be available to work in a functional and holistic program for a child in grade 3. And so these are the things we want to be conscious of. Not necessarily a bad program, but it's a more appropriate program for a typically developing brain and for a younger brain. Kindergarten, maybe early grade 1, that kind of stuff is appropriate. A child in grade 3 is going to need something much more holistic, much more systematic, and much more comprehensive. And these are the things that we want to be really conscious of. So that's a little bit about that, and I invite you to slide over to the website at Speak2Read and cruise around and educate yourself a little bit about how kids learn to read. And if you have any questions, you want a second opinion on what your child's already doing, some ideas about how your child learns, what their learning profile is, I invite you to contact me for a free consultation, and you can do that through the website as well. So I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you soon. Please educate yourself and empower your child's future by making choices and making decisions that are going to be right for how your child learns, because each child is a unique individual learner. That's it. Have a good night.